Welcome back, my name's Stephen. Thank you for joining me on my photography journey. Today I have been out and about with my Z30. I've been using the new 12 to 28mm power zoom lens, the one that I reviewed a couple of weeks ago. And I've been out at a National Trust property, which is called Sheffield Park. It's near Buxted in East Sussex in the UK. And I've taken my camera out. I have taken pictures of wildlife, landscapes, slow shutter speeds, long shutter speeds. I've used an ND filter and things like that. So what I want to do today, as I'm staying in my hotel near where I went, and I'm going to be out and about again later today and tomorrow taking more pictures. But what I want to do is just talk to you about that lens and how I found it today. Like I said, the lens that I've been using today is a 12 to 28mm f3.5 to 5.6 DX PZ or power zoom. And I decided to take this and my Z30 while I was out at this National Trust place because I wanted to take landscapes and I wanted that wider field of view, because that's something that I've never had before. My previous widest lenses were both 24mm, so that's either the 24 to 50, which is the kit lens that I got with my Z5 in the first place, or the 24 to 200mm, which is kind of my most versatile lens. I've talked about both of those before as well. So being a 12 to 28mm DX lens, you have to apply the crop factor in order to have a comparison to the 35mm field of view. So at 12mm, it's the equivalent of an 18mm lens on the Z5. This means it's significantly wider than the 24mm that I could use before. I knew that there were a couple of lakes at this National Trust place, and they gave me the opportunity to test out that wider focal length and see what I could do. I also wanted to take the Z30 rather than the Z5, partly because it's a DX camera, so I didn't have to worry about changing the format or anything like that, but also because it's nice and light. It's a light lens, it's a light camera, and that was ideal for spending a day wandering around just taking pictures. So I started out around one of the lakes. I walked around taking pictures of trees, shrubbery, the lake itself, and because it is April, so today is the 5th of April, and it's the first day in a while that we've not had rain here in England, and that meant that everything was nice and green. Some of the flowers were coming out, some of the buds were coming out. It felt very spring-like today, a bit windy, but other than that, it was really nice. So I took my time to take pictures of things at different focal lengths. What I wanted to do was make sure that I could focus stack and to get as much in the shots as I could. And I also wanted to try out different focal lengths. So some things I've taken at the widest aperture that I could and the widest focal length. Some things the opposite. I've zoomed in as far as I can, which is 28mm on here or 42mm equivalent, and then put the aperture to an f9, made it a bit smaller so that there's more in focus, there's a bigger depth of field. And that means that these landscape pictures should be nice and sharp, nice and in focus, and let's have a look at some of them now. One thing that I wanted to try out as well was how the depth of field works on this crop sensor camera and crop sensor lens. Is an f3.5 good enough? Is an f5.6 good enough? And what actually defines good enough? And what I found was that I could get the effect that I wanted. So looking at these pictures, We've got the flowers in the background and this daffodil up close at the front, and you can see that when I'm focusing on the daffodil, there's more blurring in the background. When I'm focusing on the flowers in the background, the daffodil is more blurred. Obviously, it's not going to be as blurred as if I was using my f1.8 lens, but that lens is significantly more heavy. And having the flexibility of these wider focal lengths was what I was after today. So zooming on the lens is nice and easy. I used a combination of twisting the lens barrel itself to zoom in and out, and I also used custom buttons that I've set up as well. That way I had more flexibility about what I could do, how I was doing it, and how easy it was, really. As always, my camera was on manual, so I adjusted the ISO, the shutter speed, and the aperture to how I wanted it for those particular shots. Like I said, sometimes it was wide open, the aperture that is, and sometimes it was f8, f9, so that there was more in focus, more of a kind of traditional landscape photography setting, really. Sometimes the sun was out, so I had to reduce my ISO. Sometimes, actually, that's not entirely correct. I kept my ISO at about 100 the entire time. Boosted it up occasionally when I needed to, particularly when I was going to f8, f9. But what I mainly changed was my shutter speed. And I experimented a bit with hand holding things. And by that, I mean I didn't take my tripod with me. So I wanted to take some longer exposures, and I didn't have anything to kind of balance my camera on, particularly near the waterfalls and things. So what I did was I went as slow as I could on my shutter speed without having a tripod or a solid structure to put my camera on, so that I could then see what effect that had. How good is the vibration reduction in the lens, in the camera, and how good am I hand holding these things? So we'll have a look at those now. So those are the different things that I've experimented with today. What I actually want to do is create a course essentially around the Z30, what the different buttons do, what the menus do, different attachments that you can get to it, different lenses for it, and things like that. I wonder whether that will be helpful for you. Let me know in the comments if that's something that you'd like to see. I'd also do it for the Z5 as well, and any other cameras that I get in the future, but I would concentrate on the Z30, I think, as it's the most easily accessible camera. In conclusion, today I've really enjoyed having the power zoom lens and the Nikon Z30. It's so small and light and easy to use. Yes, sometimes I did want a bit more reach. A more telephoto lens would have been quite helpful. So that would have been my 24-200, which on the Z30 would then have given me that 1.5 times crop, because it's the DX camera, a smaller sensor. Remember last week we were talking about that. Have a look back at it now. So that would have taken me out to 300mm, which is quite a big amount of zoom. However, I didn't have that one with me, it was in the car. So this is the lens that I had. It was small, it was light, much easier to carry than that 24-200. And I really enjoyed it. It was easy to put in my bag, take out whenever I needed it. When I stopped for coffee, I didn't have to worry about it kind of getting in the way, carrying it around and things. It's a small, light package for me to use. So I hope you've learned something today. If you've got any questions about my setup, the kit that I used and things like that, just let me know in the comments. Other than that, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you again next week on my photography journey. So have a great week. Bye.